Looks dim. Doesn't it look dim? That's pretty good. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We are sharing a little behind-the-scenes story tonight. Homesteady Almost Didn't Happen. We're going to tell you the story behind that and celebrate Happy Homesteady Day, because 4 years ago today, what happened?
Did you start homesteading?
I started homesteading.
Wow.
Despite my the warnings from my wife, which you'll hear about later. But first, I want to say hi to everybody joining us.
Hi, Ellen. Hi, Melissa from Texas. See, Ellen thinks we should have a beer.
I said we should grab a beer.
I choked on a carrot. I'm still coughing here.
Hi, Camden. 9-inch colas. Call me C9.
C9.
9. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Typo.
not C9.
Melissa, Kevin.
9 has a beer. That's the only way he can stand to listen to us.
Hello from Indiana. Cheers from Minnesota. This is a big day for us. 4 years ago, before we even had a YouTube channel, we launched the first episode of the Homesteady podcast. And if you're watching and you don't listen to the Homesteady podcast, you should. It's on iTunes. There's like 50 episodes. And if you commute, it's a good way to, make a commute more interesting.
In the comments I was reading, people who listened to it while there was a postal service worker who listened to the podcast, and her friend does it while she's milking goats, listens to the podcast.
I love that. Good way to pass time milking goats. The podcast, we did the podcast first because at the time I had a full-time job and I couldn't do a YouTube channel. I had to go to work throughout the day. I couldn't edit videos. I couldn't film videos.
I also think it's because you didn't watch any YouTube.
At the time, I was not a YouTube watcher, no.
Austin worked as an excavator, so he was in a machine all day.
That's right.
So to pass the time, you listened to podcasts.
Lots of podcasts. I was a big podcast listener, and so I wanted to do a podcast, plus it was what worked with the life at the time. But it almost didn't happen. Now, we're going to warn you.
It is storming.
You might see storms happening here in Connecticut, and we might lose you and have an incredible cliffhanger. You'll not know the story yet. So if suddenly this shuts down, it's because a tree came down on a wire somewhere.
The worst of the storm has passed already, but there's still a little thunder.
So we have 70 with us right now. We have people from Montreal, Sheridan, Northern Hobby Farm, Kevin Jack,
getting some lag. Naked
Hog, Paula, Corinne, Donna, Jody, hello, Laura. If we're getting lag, apologies. It's the bad weather out there. You'll watch it in the window behind us here. This was supposed to be like we're going to be outside, and I probably would have flown a drone or something, but
yeah.
Wow, that was a good boom. This is cool. We've never done this before. Okay, so let's talk about how Homesteady almost didn't happen. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I grew up editing videos and audio, and we had this homestead for a year or two already. A lot was going on. And one of the podcasts I was listening to, if you're a business owner, it's the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. And he was like, you got to spread your business, your story through podcasting. It's great.
He's Australian.
He's Australian, mate. Timbo Reed. So go check out Timbo's podcast if you have a business and you want to learn about marketing. And I was all excited. I was like, I got a small farm business. I'm going to share my small farm business through a podcast.
So before we started the podcast, we had our farm business. We were marketing pasture-raised chicken and pork.
Yeah, and also doing classes. We were teaching people how to butcher their own chickens, how to raise their own chickens, and oh, that's professional. Most of the time, our classes they had openings. There was seats that weren't filled. And so we thought, you know what? I thought I could spread the word about these classes through a podcast. I could spread the message of what our farm was doing. And so I was all excited, and like I always do with my exciting ideas, I told Kay, I got a new idea. I'm going to start a podcast.
What did I say? No.
You're like, no, you're not. Because at the time we had a baby.
We were busy. We had the farm business. He was working full time as it was. I thought he can't possibly do anything else.
Yeah, we had a very full plate. The farm, newborn baby. We actually were already here at the homestead. So we were improving the homestead and working on the homestead, and I had a full-time job.
And a new baby.
Yeah. Did we mention new baby?
Uh-huh.
And Kay was like, when are you going to do a podcast? That's crazy.
So why? Why do you want to do a podcast? Do you need a hobby? You have so many hobbies already.
I have so many hobbies. So I was like, all right, you're probably right. I probably shouldn't do a podcast. I got a lot going on here. And that was it. I gave up on the podcast idea. And then a little time went by, and I was trying to sell pastured pork and trying to sell pastured chickens and trying to figure out how can I sell more pork and more chicken. I got all this good meat, and I had another idea. So like I always do with my exciting ideas, I came to my wife. I said, babe, I got this great idea. Let's start a farm-to-table food truck. At the time, my mom was thinking about running a food truck. And I was like, I could partner with my mom. She'll cook in the food truck. I'll provide all the pork and chicken and vegetables. And every morning I can bring baskets to the food truck. I'll do the marketing. It's a win-win. It's a great way to sell a lot of pork. We'll have bacon and sausage. Can't go wrong. Can't fail.
And I said, no.
You didn't say no.
What did I say?
You said,
do the podcast instead.
and that was it. That was the defining moment in our lives. She was like, how about that podcast?
Well, I knew if a podcast was a lot of work, a food truck would have been even more work.
Yeah, a food truck would have been crazy. We were going to have to buy a food truck and refurbish it. And like you mentioned before, did we say we had a new baby? Because we had a new baby. So she's like, you know what? How bad could a podcast be compared to the food truck idea? And so Kay was like, why don't you try that podcast thing out? So I did. I made a podcast.
Because apparently he needed to do something else.
There was not enough going on in my life. And the podcast was not Homestead. The podcast, do you remember this?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was called?
The Farm, Forest, and Family Podcast? Is that what it was?
No, not that
What
would have
was
made
it?
more sense. And family. It was a little bit weirder. It was the Farm, Forest, Family Podcast. Now, if that doesn't sound like a cult, I don't know what does. Welcome to the Forest Family Farm. And I made an intro playing guitar. It's like, this is how it went. This was the lead-in intro, and I'm almost embarrassed. I should have grabbed the guitar and played it, but it was, he's got a full-time job. She's a stay-at-home mom. Together they still have time. Oh, yes, they still have time for the forest and the farm. It's the Farm Forest Family Podcast. That was the introduction.
We did that one together. We recorded that one together.
That podcast?
Yeah.
I didn't remember recording that.
We recorded it.
One episode.
We recorded one episode. And the first time we did it, it got erased or something. There were technical difficulties. We went through this whole thing. We had the new baby, 2 other older kids. So we managed to get them all quiet. We kept them busy. We recorded this whole podcast, an hour-long thing.
Somebody was watching out for no.
It got erased, and Austin said, we have to record that again. And I was like...
Did I mention we had a new baby?
I was like, no. I say no a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not recording that again. I was bored the first time we did it. I do not want to sit here and do that again.
I totally forgot part of the story. We, as you can tell, we didn't really talk about this before we did the live stream today. It's more fun to like remember together. Remember when? Happy Homesteady Day. So what happened? We gave up on it. It was like, all right, never mind. Podcast isn't meant to be. For a while, you could still find it on iTunes. I think now you can't. I don't think you could search Farm Forest Family and see what comes up. But if it's something weird and culty, it's not us. So time just went by, but the fire within kept burning. That sounded culty too. I really wanted to I really wanted to do it. I wanted to do a podcast, but I was embarrassed by that one. Like the introduction music, the whole line, everything. It didn't feel right. The technical difficulties. And we recorded that one on an iPhone. I got an app that was like a podcast recording app. That's why that didn't work. And I recorded it on an iPhone app and it crashed, and that's how it disappeared. All coming back to me now.
Good.
So some time went by. That was in the fall. Springtime, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it right this time. I used to record music. I had good recording microphones. I had a really good computer. I knew how to edit on good software. I said, this isn't going to be something we record on an iPhone and it crashes and it disappears. We're going to create the best quality podcast we can create. It's going to be, I'm going to shoot for NPR quality. I want it to be really good. I want it to be more than just me rambling. And she was like, no, I'm not doing the podcast thing. I already tried that. That didn't work. But go for it if you want. So I needed a co-host. Old time podcast, or any podcast listeners know who we're going to talk about next. I was like, who can I have as a co-host on the show if Kay's not going to do the show? Who better than my best friend who thinks, other than my wife, my best friend who thinks everything I do is insane and thinks that farming is just ridiculous. Accountant Mike. So I called him up. I said, dude, I got an idea. I got an idea for a podcast. It's going to be about homesteading. We're going to break down things and see if they work financially, numbers-wise. And I want to have you on the show for the second half of the show. Come in and pick apart what we're doing and see if it makes sense. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Mike's very different from me because he said, sure.
Mike's always been the one who says, yeah, sounds awesome. So we decided, all right, let's do it. We recorded our first episode of Homesteady. It's still on iTunes or Google. There's a link in the description for this live stream. You can click on if you've never listened to our podcast before. You can go listen to the very first episode. It is by no means our best episode.
No.
That whole striving for the best quality production we could do took about 2 years, but we figured it out.
Answer some questions. We are still in Connecticut, Cindy. Yes. Jeremy says we got him into pigs. He never would have got him without us.
Oh, man.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. What can I say? So that's how it happened. And a couple of years into podcasting, I started working more part-time instead of full-time off the farm, and that's when YouTube became possible. And here we are.
Now, YouTube early videos are kind of the same as the early podcasts, and somebody in the comments from the video yesterday said she couldn't even watch those first few YouTube videos.
Sorry about that.
They were pretty bad.
Yes, the early days. I was learning my way on YouTube, and we've learned a lot since doing YouTube more. And we've been at YouTube now for, I should have checked before we started, I think over 2 years. I think we're going on our third year now on YouTube.
We are still doing the podcast. Austin made me promise that I would never let him stop the podcast.
So truthfully, I've wanted to stop the podcast. And the reason why is something happened, and I won't go into this too deep, but essentially the software that I was using to do to put up the podcast, we were getting analytics from, and we thought we were growing and getting all kinds of downloads. And then they did an update, and they were like, hey, we have more accurate numbers now. And it was like, more accurate numbers means nobody is listening to this podcast.
Austin isn't very impressed with how iTunes promotes small podcasters.
No, it is not like YouTube.
YouTube promotes smaller channels if they have good videos a lot more than iTunes will promote a small podcast.
I think Ellen was the one who said she couldn't watch.
Ellen said 6 months after we did the podcast, she started listening. We will, Ellen. We'll keep doing the podcast. But it is very labor intensive, the podcast.
The podcast takes way more time to edit and produce. And as we now know, because of updated analytics, iTunes just doesn't care about like promoting you. You don't, unless you're Oprah Winfrey or somebody famous and you have a podcast, NPR, you know, their podcasts get promoted, but just podcasts like ours, nothing. And we realized with more accurate numbers, our show was way smaller than we thought. And answered some of the frustration as to why things weren't working out with the podcast, with doing. Meanwhile, here on YouTube, YouTube promotes. If people like your stuff and they're watching your videos, YouTube fans the flames and helps you grow.
YouTube has its own set of issues with the censorship and things like that.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah, no platform right now is perfect.
No, but if you want to grow and people like your content, YouTube is a good place to be. And thanks to all you who've helped us who are here tonight, who have helped us get to this point where we just passed 40,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And YouTube every day is helping us grow more and more. So like Kay said, I told her, don't let me stop doing the podcast. Right now with the move happening, it is just too much. So we're not doing the podcast through this move. You've probably noticed if you listen to the podcast, we haven't put out a new episode in like 2 months because it just is impossible with the move.
So much work.
But what we're planning on doing is as we get set back in, we're actually building in the new place an area to have a podcasting studio. So we do have plans to get back to podcasting, and we'll announce more on that on the podcast soon. We'll have an update episode coming out soon.
Not Your Average Guy and his wife are buying 11-acre property in PA
No
tomorrow.
way! Congratulations! 11 acres in PA, man. Gonna love it. Are you guys in PA now, or are you moving to it from out of state? Let us know. So we want to answer some questions like we usually do with the live stream. Fire off, not hashtag, tag at Homesteady so we can find your questions in the sidebar there.
I did this.
There were some questions already,
Yes.
so we're going to look and see what the questions are. But that is the history of Homesteady Day, and we are going to give away in just a few minutes here. Ooh, looking like we're losing some internet. We're going to announce who wins the Homesteady prize package. So tonight we're giving away a year-long Homesteady Pioneer membership and Homesteady t-shirt like the one I'm wearing, or one of the other ones if you want one of the other ones. We're going to give away that prize in just a minute here.
Jeremy asked if we've ever Victor asked, have we ever done free-range pigs? No.
I answered that in Sunday Q&A, Vic. This last Sunday or Saturday Q&A, I talked about why it's not a good idea to free-range pigs without any kind of fencing. And it's essentially because pigs will go feral quicker than any other domestic animal. They'll actually grow tusks, just go wild. So in many states, it's illegal. I don't know, depending on what state you live in, but in many states, if people see pigs not within a fence, they're supposed to shoot them because feral hogs are a crazy bad problem. So yeah, I would never free-range pigs, not in the States.
Sergio asked what we do for fly control on our cows.
Ooh.
Horn flies on our cows. Well, for our flies that we have around here, I'm using fly masks and like a horse fly spray that I got from Tractor Supply. In the future, I'd like to do some more fly predators to kind of hatch them out and have them work against the flies. The flies are a problem everywhere. And everyone has a different idea of what works for them. So that's what we're doing so far.
I've heard that Muscovies are fly killers. And we only have 2 Muscovies, and they're not in the pen with the cow most of the time. So we haven't been able to see that. But I've read people say up to 90% reduction in flies. So we'll test that out in the new farm.
Are we sending our egg layer chickens to processing as well? No.
Tony wants to know.
In fact, our processing plans have changed too.
Mm-hmm.
We're not processing them at a USDA facility now. We're going to do them ourselves this week.
We don't have that many chickens. We're not going to be selling any. And because of just changing plans with the moving this next couple weeks here, we decided we don't have that many chickens. We'll do it ourselves. We'll save some money. And of course, we'll make a video.
Our older egg layers are our sons, so we're not ever killing those.
Yeah, they will be retired. And that's not a metaphor. They'll
they'll die peacefully in their sleep.
They'll go to a better farm, the one we're moving to.
Yeah. 9 asked, first advice to the lifetime city dweller that has been dreaming of country life. Any advice on property characteristics?
Ooh, that's a great one. You or me first.
Go ahead.
First thing I would say, 9, is don't look for a farm unless you got big bucks and you're ready to jump into the lifestyle full on. Instead, look for a kind of diamond in the rough property like we did, because you'll pay less for it. There won't be like chemicals on. Generally, there won't be the chemicals that you would if you bought like a farm that had a big thing of corn or soybeans or whatever. And you'll be starting from scratch and able to kind of fit into the mold. That's what we did here. The property here, we paid much less than probably we would have for 10 acres of farmland. It's valued less at the tax office because of that. So we're paying less in taxes.
It's not prime farm land for us because that wasn't what we were looking for initially.
Yeah. And we were able to really kind of make it our own and customize it. And it was a great place for us. It's the only reason that Homesteady exists was because we moved here. Maybe it would have happened somewhere else, but that's my best tip. Start with finding a diamond in the rough, and don't be afraid of not flat properties. This one's a real good, as you've seen in our drone flights lately. It's a ridge. Anything you would say?
About finding a property?
Yeah.
I like having open space on the property, a mixture of open space and woods. I like that our property had the big yard that we converted half to a garden, and then the kids could play on half of that. So that was important to me.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to figure out what you're looking for. Do you have kids you want a place for them? Do you have goats? There's more forage for them in the woods. Pigs, where do you want them? Look at how close you are to your neighbors. That can determine what kind of animals you can have, what your city and zoning laws are.
That's a great point. Make sure before you move into a place, they're going to let you have the animals you want to have. We had to move to this, where we are now. The local towns surrounding it would not have let us do what we do here. So definitely check that first.
Donna makes a good point about the chicken butchering. We were talking about that. We don't know if we will be putting that video on YouTube because of the issues that YouTube will have with that. That may be something that you'll have to go to our website to see.
Yep. So maybe we'll do like a teaser video. Hey, chickens are going to be processed. We'll teach you how. Click on this link and you can see the video back at our website. Link below to that. And if you're on our email list, I'll send you the video on the Friday after we do it. So just link below, join our email list. You won't miss any of our videos, even if we don't put them on YouTube because we're afraid YouTube will strike us or whatever they do.
Paul asked how to find a processor for chickens. Check online.
Go to your local's farmer's market.
Yeah.
Ask who they use. That's the way we found out. And generally there'll be a few different options. See who more people like and who's closer.
There do seem to be more and more opening up for us around here, more and more USDA
smaller options,
inspected processing facilities, which is good.
And one thing to say about that, a lot of people are kind of negative about homesteaders not doing it themselves. Oh, come on, do your own pigs, do your own chickens, you can do it. And it's true, you totally can. We did our own chickens. I've done pigs in the past. I do my own deer. So if it's your first time, you're learning a new skill of raising meat chickens. That is a totally different skill than processing meat chickens. If you try to do everything, you'll get overwhelmed, you'll burn out, and you'll quit. Don't do it all. The first year you raise meat chickens, get a processor and take them to the processor. The first year you're going to be really learning how to do meat chickens. And the following year you'll be good at that, then learn how to process them. Or better yet, do it vice versa. Learn how to process them first, and then the next year raise them.
All right. Since we've already moved our freezers, Wildflower asked, how will you transport the processed chickens? Good news. We left one chest freezer.
We knew better.
Yeah, we knew we had this group to do, so we left a freezer.
Look at that. I didn't even think about that. I was so tired of moving. I just was talking to a friend today and saying, like, we're done moving meat. I'm so tired of moving meat. But I guess if we're processing all our chickens, we're going to be moving meat. So, all right, next question.
They were asking about tick control.
Tick control, what do we do?
They already have guineas. Ticks are a problem. We have guineas too. We still get ticks. So they're not a perfect solution. They're not going to get rid of all the ticks. Keep whatever area you're going to be in, keep it mown. Short. Ticks like to crawl up on things. I think you had a pine tree farm in Virginia. If the grass is going to grow up tall, you'll probably still have ticks.
They already have guineas.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. Okay. And what we do for the kids, we have tick clothing. We have long
clothes that are sprayed with a tick repellent. It dries, so it adheres to the clothing.
Not to your skin.
Right. So every time the kids are going to go in the woods or a field where the grass is longer, I have them put on their tick clothes.
And don't be ashamed to tuck those pants into those socks and look like a dork who doesn't have Lyme disease.
Have we ever had a guard goose for your chickens or plan on getting one? We did have geese once. We had geese and ducks at the same time, and we just didn't have the buildings for them to keep them.
Yeah.
So we ended up selling the ducks and the geese that year.
That was the very first ducks we had before I did the episode on being abducted and how I hated ducks. And then we wound up getting ducks. Again, we got ducks again.
So we would get geese. I like geese. I grew up with geese. They're noisy. The ones we had were noisy.
We've had a very limited amount of barn and stall space here. But now that we're going to the bigger farm, we'll be able to have a few more different kinds of animals, because that's the problem. You might have the room for it acreage-wise, but if you don't have that many separate stalls where you can keep animals separate, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, they're just so wet. Victor, we do actually have 2 roosters.
Yeah, I was wondering, Victor, what do you mean by, what do you think about getting roosters? Because we do have a few roosters. So.
Let us know, Victor, what you mean. Sir
Yes.
Stink-a-Lot.
I
read your comment. I liked your comment from the video. So I can't remember what it was. More tips for someone who's thinking into getting ducks.
By the way, if you left a comment in yesterday's video, which we're going to give the prize away for, there were so many great stories of ways that, Homesteady's been a part of your growth and your life and just been on the journey with us being more Homesteady. So thanks so much for sharing those. Those were awesome. I love reading that.
Yeah, I was getting all emotional reading them.
Yeah? I didn't know you were reading them.
Yeah.
She does the comments a lot of the times. We go back and forth. But those were great. They were really great comments.
Rachel was asking about chores for kids under 10 to do. Collecting eggs.
Ooh, that's a great question. We have advice there.
Collecting the eggs and giving them some control over the eggs themselves gives them some motivation. Like our son started having the blue eggs, so we knew all of his blue eggs he could sell, and then he could keep the money. Now our daughter has her dark brown eggs, so they're excited to see when their chickens start laying. So they can feed them. They get the nest boxes ready for the eggs. They start collecting the eggs. They put the chickens in at night. They open, and our kids are all under 10. Ours, the 2 older are 7 and 6.
They really got good at farm chores a year ago.
Yeah.
So when they were like
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Before that, it was mostly
they had to work with us.
They had to work with us, and you're teaching. And in the beginning, like all things, when you're teaching someone, it slows you down. But by 5 and 6, they were able to do things that were actually helpful. And now it's very helpful having them go out and do the chickens at night.
We set it up.
Did you talk about bottle feeding goats?
We set up the chickens so that they can reach the feed. They can scoop, so they can feed the chickens themselves. They can water the chickens themselves. They were feeding the baby goats for me every afternoon, which was a big help, actually. And
that's one of the best ways to make it easier for them with your infrastructure and your setup so that they can handle it. So make sure your feed bags, you don't want kids out there having to get feed bags open. So have them open and ready for them in a spot that's easy to access. Have a good scoop there.
Kenzie asked about mice. How do we deal with mice?
I don't know. How do we deal with mice?
Cats. That's the best way I found to deal with mice.
Yeah, we don't.
They do a fantastic job. Mice, chipmunks.
For long-time fans of the show will know that early days when we first moved on to the farm, an old-timer farmer said, "Oh, get yourself some rat poison. Just put a few pellets out." And we lost a dog that way. And if you want to know that story, you can listen to the Horribly Sad podcast and Cry at Work that we did about it. It's called Emergency on the Farm. But that was a really hard lesson we learned with dealing with stuff like that. And
so personally, we choose not to use poison, which makes it difficult to deal with the rats. Because the mice are fine. The cats take care of that. But the rats are giving us a real problem this year.
Yes.
I've been told because we're close to water, more of an issue with the rats. So what I would do to get rid of rats personally is knock over any building that doesn't have a solid floor.
That's a great one.
A small coop. Just get rid of any coops you have where rats can go under and hide, because that's what they're looking for. It's terrible.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of where we're headed. There's less of a problem. So
people have asked about meat rabbits. We would really like to do meat rabbits.
We get asked about meat rabbits every time we do a live stream. People are dying to see meat rabbits. We will in the future. It's just been every year. It's been like, oh, well, this year we added a cow. And, oh, this year we're moving states. But meat rabbits, we will definitely do them. I want to try them.
Sarah, you asked again about fly control. You must have missed when we answered because of the internet. I use a fly spray right now that I have to reapply every day, and a fly mask for their eyes.
Texas Boys are watching. Guys, if you're looking for another great YouTube homesteading channel, go check out the Texas Boys. They're in the chat box. Can you click on them and go there? That might work. Texas Boys, add a link to your channel.
And they have meat rabbits if anybody wants to see.
No way. There we go. Texas Boys got some great videos out there. We've collaborated with them on cow stuff before, so go check out the Texas Boys.
Not Your Average Guy. We are going to breed Ladybug when we go to PA. Hopefully the first month we're there, we'll be able to get her bred. And Luna when she's big enough. 2 mini Jersey so far.
Yeah, we're going back and forth on that one.
I think you're settled on it.
Yeah, I really want to keep it mini Jersey. We've talked, this is a good topic. We've talked about what should we breed Ladybug to. Kay wanted to breed her.
I would like to try another breed, not necessarily breed her to something different, but maybe purchase another cow of a different breed eventually.
We've been trying to figure out what is our farm business going to be in PA. I don't think we're going to be selling pork and chicken like here in Connecticut. Here in Connecticut, I could get good money for half a pig. I could get good money for, I could try to get good money for a whole chicken. That was harder. But in where we're headed, pork, chicken, even farm raised is a lot cheaper. Same amount of work, but much less money. So I don't think I'm going to keep doing the same business. I feel that our business model for the farm will transition more into quality homesteading livestock, because we've been searching for years for quality homesteading livestock. We've been through good, bad, ugly, and now we have some really good quality livestock on the homestead, and we can only handle so much ourselves. So I'm thinking, well, we'll probably wind up just selling Ladybug's heifer and the goats that we breed. I can't believe I just said that. Their kids. And so if the value for Ladybug is in the fact that she is a rare mid-sized mini Jersey, who's A2A2 dairy, I feel we should breed her that same thing, because then her heifer will be as valuable as she and Luna are.
Cindy, we will, I feel like, still raise pigs for ourselves. I like having pigs on the farm for of your property that no other animal necessarily can. Clear it out. Also, all the food scraps and leftovers that we don't eat, the pigs eat. And it's nice to have that control over your meat. We've kind of gotten used to that, I think.
I want to give away the prize package before we lose the power here. And
but Sergio wants to know how I balance farm, household, and homeschool.
Oh, that's such a good question. So before we answer that, the winner of today's Homesteady prize package, we said, share how Homesteady affected your life. In the comments, we were going to pick one. There were so many good ones. It was really hard to pick. And so I picked one of my favorite ones, who also is someone who has been with the show before it was even a YouTube channel. They were a podcast listener who was very supportive of the show. When I saw the comment, I was like, yes, winner. So the YouTube name is Dad and Isaac Go A Gardening. And I'll go with that name because I don't know if they want me to say their actual name on YouTube. But Dad and Isaac Go A Gardening, you guys are the winner of the prize package. So Dad and Isaac got to get a t-shirt because Isaac is his son.
Aww.
So Dad and Isaac, you'll get matching Homesteady tees. Just email me your address and the sizes you guys need. And you guys will be getting Homesteady tees and a year-long Pioneer membership.
Do we always have our meat birds butchered, or do we do it ourselves as well? For the first few years, we did it all ourselves. Then we found a processor that our friend John Siskovich uses in Rhode Island, and they do great work. So for the years where life was just too crazy to process 75 birds ourselves because we don't have a plucker, we would take them up to Rhode Island. This year, we'll be doing them ourselves.
And making a video, whether or not it shows up on YouTube. Let's talk about how you balance
Everything.
Saw Cody Calvet wearing a Homesteady t-shirt. Yeah, you did, Tina. I have a great interview with Cody for the podcast. Speaking of podcasts,
it hasn't come out yet.
No, because we started moving.
It's a good interview.
That's a great interview. Yeah, it's a great interview.
Cody's
Cody was a great interview.
So cool.
And he does wear a Homesteady t-shirt. We hooked Cody up with some Homesteady swag. We love Cody. Wait till you hear that episode, and we'll have video excerpts from it because I got video too. Great guy. Check out Cody Creelman Calvet. Really fun channel. Glimpse into a larger scale agricultural farming that will open your eyes. You might have in your head what you think large scale agriculture is for meat cattle. I mean, that's what Cody works with. He's a vet. You might have in your head what you think that's going to look like. Oh man, so many cows and they're standing in knee high in their own poop and it's filth and it's awful. Check out Cody's videos. You might see a different side to that world, and it definitely opened up my eyes. So good.
And if you have a cow yourself, it's really eye-opening just into how a cow vet works.
Yeah,
the things he sees is really interesting.
We watch him with the kids from time to time as part of homeschool.
Autopsies, what do you call those animals?
Oh yeah,
necropsies.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good homeschool material right there. How do you balance homesteading, homeschooling, and it was being a wife too? Was that it?
Being amazing. I'm just kidding.
Let's see. It was
farm, household, and homeschool.
There we go.
I don't know. That's a hard question. How do I balance it? That's right there.
Sergio. Farm, household,
and homeschool. Because they homeschool too, they said.
I think part of Kay likes to think before she answers things. I like to talk while I'm thinking. So she'll think while I talk. I think part of Kay's secret, how does she do it? She's just like you. I think part of what she does is they're very interwoven. And that's part of how we do it together. Homeschool does not have this border that's like, this is homeschool. And here is where we teach things. And this is household. And this is where we cook, clean, and do laundry. And this is homestead. And this is where we raise animals and process them. They're very interwoven. So part of the kids' homeschool is working on the homestead with us, outside, helping with fencing, helping on collecting eggs and washing eggs. So you can weave them together, help wash some eggs, then the kids help cook the eggs. So they're involved in making some food. And as any of you moms or dads know, when kids are helping cook the food, it doesn't exactly save you time, mess, or anything, but it's part of homeschool. So they work together, and I think that's part of it.
And he says it's life school. She's right.
Yes.
Because our kids are younger, 7 and under, we're mostly unschooling right now. I've been sitting down and going over lessons, teaching my oldest to read. The other ones, we don't really sit down and do lessons at all right now. It's through everyday life that they're learning a lot.
Sam, did we get Sam's question? You need to say motivated. Sam's question was great, and Sam just became a Homesteady Pioneer today. Sam, thanks so much. You guys who are Homesteady Pioneers, we could not have do this show without you. Your support is the biggest supporting pillar to Homesteady. So thank you so much. And don't forget,
Pioneers, there's that forum too. Just in case we miss a question on the live stream, which is easy to do.
Yeah.
You can go to the forum and ask us some questions.
I check in the forum every week. I answer every question I can find in the forum. Plus, we have other people in the forum, other pioneers who have way more experience in this or that than I do, and they answer questions too. So if you want to be a pioneer, there's a link below this. You can become one. It's $5 a month.
Now answer his question.
Oh, but more importantly, staying motivated because they're living in the city.
Right.
And they want to stay motivated for how to get there, right? That's such a good question. So first, Sam, what I tell everybody is don't be afraid to just start something. Even in the city, do you have a balcony, a window, a friend's house you can grow something at? Start something. If you have none of those things, become a hunter or a fisherman because you can go to public land and do those things there. If you don't want to kill animals, become a forager and start foraging on public land. Learn skills. Go to local farms and volunteer to help out on days like Chicken Butcher Day because those are hard days.
Give yourself a victory. Do something where you are guaranteed to get a product from it, some sort of reward for your efforts. I gotta get the baby.
You can tell everyone, we'll say if they want to come on. Okay. That is the other big thing. That's such a good point. If you give yourself even a little victory, and I feel like that's even the best way to start homesteading. When you finally get out of the city, Sam, and you get your property and you're all excited, it's very tempting to say, I'm going to do everything this year. I've watched Ost's channel. I'm going to do pigs. I'm going to do goats. I'm going to do a cow. Ost has all those animals at once. I can totally do that. And you totally can, but if you do it all at once, you'll have tons of work and probably zero victories because you knew it at all. And that's a great way to burn out fast. So do what Kay said. Pick something small, get yourself a tiny little victory, and keep doing that. And eventually, as you move on to the property, start with 2 things, animal and something else, whether it's infrastructure or a garden. More little victories. Following year, another animal, till you get to the point where you're doing too many things and you say, all right, next year we're going to do less. We've been there. Pigs feed and water inside the shelter with the pigs? Or outside the shelter. Yeah, don't keep pig feed in with the pigs.
No, like having in the water outside the shelter?
Okay, I'm confused in the question. How do we feed our pigs? We have good videos on this. We keep feeds for pigs in pig feeders. They're waterproof and they're rodent resistant. Big rodents could figure it out, but small ones can't. They have a little flap lid. Pigs come and they root and they lift the lid, they eat, and then it closes. So those can stay outside. And the pig water, you got to do automatic nipple waters connected to hoses for pigs. Buckets are horrible. Troughs are not great. Pigs destroy plastic. And we keep all that outside the shelter because the pigs will make a mess with the water. And you want your shelter with your hay to be nice and dry. So keep the feed and water out of the shelter, and but make sure it's rodent proof, and make sure your feed is not going to get rained on and ruined. That's what those pig feeders are great for. I should add those to the links and the gear we use. I will think to do that later. We have Debbie. I'll be wearing your t-shirt to a fancy schmancy wedding this weekend. I will be sending you a picture. Debbie and anyone else, if you wear a Homesteady t-shirt anywhere and you send me that picture, I will put it on our video. Just do it. I cannot wait to see you at a fancy schmancy wedding wearing an abducted or a goat gremlin t-shirt. Like, so great. What do you think about long-term gardens such as hugelkultur? Long-term gardens, Jeremy wants to know. Jeremy, I have not so green a thumb. I'm not a huge gardener. We do a lot more livestock here. We love perennials because we have done annuals for years and got very little in return. If you're good at it, if you like it, do it. But otherwise, go the perennial route. One of the very first things you'll see us do on this homestead come the fall at our new homestead is plant perennials because they take a while to get going. Ours here are going to finally start going as we move. And I've heard from many other homesteaders, the minute you plant your orchard is when you decide to move. And sure enough, that's what happened here. But yeah, I like perennial. Long-term gardens, definitely a great thing. Get your rhubarbs and your asparagus. Get your fruit trees and your fruit bushes, all that going. And then within those food forests, you can have space to put potatoes and onions, and if you want tomatoes or peppers or whatever else. All right. Have you ever considered hydroponic fodder? No.
Well, we considered it.
Hydroponic fodder.
Fodder. I thought about fodder.
You've thought about fodder?
Yeah.
So we have a guest with us now.
Me? Oh.
Oh no.
He's not so fond of it.
Happy Homesteady Day. He's not ready.
He's not feeling it.
Not feeling Homesteady Day. So you've thought about fodder.
I thought about fodder, but I haven't seen the
We haven't seen
the data really
the
showing
data behind fodder
that it makes up for
that makes up for the time you put into it. Being as nutritious as hay. I'm echoing my wife. let's go a couple more questions because it is much harder when I lose my partner in crime here, who said she was not going to do the podcast with me. We never did get around to that. She said, no, I did the podcast thing. Well, what happened? If you're still watching, let me know. That looked okay. I think we're back. I would play her the episode and say, oh, I like this, change that. Okay, good. Usually I'd argue with her a little bit, but then I realized she's pretty good at this editing thing. And then I'd say, oh, you know, I'm going to tell this bit. Can I interview you on this episode? And I got her to be like a guest on the podcast. And then, I want to do this bit. Will you come on for this bit with me? Then with YouTube, we were doing YouTube. I made some videos. You know what, babe? You should be in this video. And as she started showing up more and more in the videos, it became clear who the real star of the show was. Everyone's like, Aust, where's your wife? We love her more than you. And so now that we're doing this daily video stuff, you never agreed to it.
No,
I have no paperwork to be a part of this. But I've kind of like wrangled her in.
Mod for you says you're a mixed Tom Cruise and Justin Bieber. Maybe.
And Bieber?
Maybe they mean me.
I don't know how to take that.
Look at this face.
Oh my.
Mhm.
You saying
Wildflower
happy
does
Homesteady Day?
fodder. I'd love to hear your results on fodder, Wildflower. All right, let me scan through. There's a learning curve.
Baby chicks. How are the baby chicks doing, Jason?
Have you lost any?
The baby chicks are
They're
giant
great.
meat birds.
They're ready to be butchered.
They're headed to freezer camp this week. We only lost 2. One very early on. As a chick, generally you'll lose 1 or 2 in a big batch. We lost 1 little chick, and then we lost another bird probably 4 weeks in.
Yeah, hi. All right. What? Which one?
We already announced the winner for the giveaway.
You want to say it again who it was? Who the giveaway was?
If you missed it, it was Dad and Isaac Go A Gardening. They're the winners for our giveaway. And Dad and Isaac are both going to get a t-shirt. So,
Is Austin's family sad we're all moving? Yeah.
great
Of
question,
course.
Kevin. Yep, my family is definitely sad we're moving. Fortunately, my family likes to travel and go on road trips. And after we move out of the little apartment space, there'll be a perfect spot to put them up. So they'll be able to come visit. And
Got some crazy people commenting.
that's it. We got to spend time modding now.
Yeah, I believe that. Oh, Jason, you lost 3. That's not bad. Were they meat birds? Were they Cornish? Because if you lost 3, that's not bad at all. Bad at all. Yeah, I'm trying to mod. I'm working on it.
All right. Should we?
How do we cook our chicken most of the time? That's a good question. If it's a whole bird, I'll cut the backbone out, spatchcock it, and it cooks really quickly in about an hour or so, hour and a half for a 5-pound bird.
Yeah, that's a great way to cook the chickens. They turn out really well. I'm gonna try to get. Let's try to get
We're almost done.
1 or 2 more questions answered. Well, thank you for joining us, guys, for Homesteady Day. And next year will be 5 years, so we'll have to do something really big for 5 years. And thank you for helping us get to this point where, I mean, this is our 4th year. We're growing on YouTube now, and things are continually getting more and more exciting as we go to the new farm. So can you say happy Homesteady Day?
Happy Homesteady Day.
Happy Homesteady Day.
Happy Homesteady Day.
Congratulations to Dad and Isaac for being the winners of Homesteady Day giveaway. And we will see you.
Thank you all for your nice comments on the YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching.
We'll see you in tomorrow's video. And don't miss out. Join the email list because I'm going to try this weekend to do one last stream with the drone here on the outside part of the property. We'll do one more fly through. You'll see the whole property. Thanks, guys, and we will see you in tomorrow's video.